Hi there, this is Mrs. Varnado. We are going to go ahead and look at some of your hands-on equations, number problems for level 2. This is to help you guys kind of figure out what to do with each of the problems while we are not at school. So let's go ahead and start with number 15. Okay, let's start with number 15. When the opposite of a number is added to twice the number, a sum of 9 is obtained. What is the number? Let's first start by analyzing our problem. We know we've got the opposite of a number, and we know that when we add that to twice the number, a sum of 9 is obtained. What is the number? So we know right now that our answer to the question is going to be the number is blank. We know that we are looking for the number. So let's go back into our actual problem and let's read it once more. When the opposite of a number is added to twice the number, a sum of 9 is obtained. So let's go ahead and say that the number is pawn. Is pawn. Just a regular old pawn. So I have got the number is pawn, and the opposite of the number is going to be white pawn. I put the number sign there, is white pawn. So pawn is the number and white pawn is the opposite of the number. So let's go ahead and set this up. When the opposite of a number is added to twice the number, a sum of 9 is obtained. I know right now that 9 is going to be my sum, it's my total. I also know that the opposite of a number is my white pawn, and it's added to twice the number, which means I'm going to have 2 blue pawns. That is twice the number. The sum of 9 is obtained. What is the number? Okay, let's go ahead and do some legal moves. I can get rid of a white pawn, which is the opposite of a blue pawn. They cancel each other out. And I am left with pawn equals 9. That's actually a blue pawn equals 9, so my number is 9. And if I go back and check it, I will find that I'm plugging in 9 plus 9 is 18, minus 9 is 9, 9 equals 9. And I am checked and good to go. Okay, let's look at number 18. The sum of two numbers is 10. Twice the first number increased by the second number is 18. Find the two numbers. So right now I know my answer is going to have two answers. The question is, what are the two numbers? The answer is the first number is blank and the second number is blank. My answer is going to have two answers. What is the first number and what is the second number? So I'm going to go back and look at this part of my problem. The sum of the two numbers is 10. So if I have the first number and then I have the second number equals 10, then I can say that the first number is my pawn. I'm actually going to make that blue because we're used to dealing with blue pawns. So my first number is my blue pawn. Now at this point, if I were to write the equation, I would have blue pawn, which is my first number, plus my second number, which I'm not sure what that is yet, equals 10. I could also say that 10 minus my blue pawn would give me my second number. This is just looking at fact families and how that would work. But I really don't want to say 10 minus the blue pawn. I could say 10 of the opposite of the blue pawn, which would be 10 white pawn. So I can find my second number by saying that my second number is 10 with a white pawn. I want you to think about that for a minute. This works because we know with our fact families that 10 minus the blue pawn will leave us the second number, or that the blue pawn plus the second number equals 10. It works both ways. So let's go ahead and set up an equation. Okay, let's go back into our text and make sure we set it up correct. The sum of two numbers is 10. Twice the first number, so the first number I know is my blue pawn, so twice my first number, increased by the second number. This is right here, increased by the second number, and my second number is going to be a 10 and a white pawn equals 18. Now I am ready to do my legal moves. I've got a white pawn and a blue pawn. They cancel each other out. I've got a 10. 18 minus 10 leaves me 8. So what I am left with is blue pawn equals 8. And what that means is that since blue pawn was my first number up here, the first number is 8. Now I need to go ahead and look at my second number. And the second number is pretty simple. It's either 10 minus the opposite of pawn, or I can look over here, 10 minus pawn. So the second number is 10 minus 8, and the number is 2, is my second number. If I go back and I check, I'm going to look at my numbers again and I'm going to count them out. I've got 8, 16 minus 8 equals 8 plus 10 equals 18. And on my other side, I have an 18 and it checks. All right, finally we are coming to problem number 21, and this is a little tricky. I'm not going to lie. We really were a little challenged by the way they presented this problem to us when we looked at the text. So we're going to go ahead and walk through this, and I'm going to try to explain it in a way that hopefully you will understand. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the problem. We have when a number is diminished by its opposite, the result is 12. Find the number. So right now I know that my answer is going to be, the number is blank. Okay, and I also know that a number is probably going to go ahead and be my pawn. Let's make that blue. Got a number diminished by its opposite. Well, I know that the opposite of pawn is star. And I also know diminished probably means reduced or subtracted. The result is 12. Well, I've sort of set up an equation here, which I don't highly recommend you to do, but I think it's the easiest way to understand this problem. So let's go ahead and put it in another way. We've got a number, so we've got a number is equal to pawn. And we have got the opposite is equal to star. So we've got a number is pawn, the opposite is star. Now star is the opposite of pawn, and that means we are subtracting it by pawn, from pawn. So for example, if my number was 4, and I had 4 minus the opposite, it would look something like this. And for those of you who understand negative numbers, if we put this on a number line, this being 0, this is 4, this is -4, and I've got my 0. The distance between 4 and -4 is not 0. Let's go ahead and see what it actually is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the distance between the number 4 and -4, its opposite, if I'm diminishing the number 4 by its opposite, it's actually going to be 8. So with that being said, let's go ahead and look at a possible way that we could write this equation using our pawns. So if I've got a number is diminished by its opposite, and that would be star, the result is 12. And what I essentially have here, I've got a number diminished by another negative number, the opposite of this number. So what that means is I'm actually going to be adding another blue pawn. So the number diminished by its opposite is going to actually look like 2 blue pawns. Looking over at my example here, if you look at our example number of 4, diminished by its opposite, you actually end up having 4 plus itself. So back to our pawns over here, if pawn is a number and I am diminishing it by itself, I'm going to be adding it to itself. So I'm going to have the number diminished by its opposite is equal to 2 pawns. So let's go ahead and set it up and see if it works. A number diminished by its opposite, the result is 12. I will have 2 pawns because that represents the number diminished by its opposite. The result is 12. 2 pawns equals 12. That means 12 divided by 2. That means 1 pawn equals 6. So the number is 6. And if I go back to check, if I add 6 and 6, my answer is 12. So 12 equals 12. I know it's very confusing. Take a little bit of time to let it sink in, and we will definitely talk about this more in class. Thanks so much.